Oh, well, I'm glad you kind of tapped into that and you're going to explore that more with your therapist.
Yeah, I was like, that's tender. I need to, but not now.
We'll put a pin in that for 2026.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 50 minutes is not long enough to unpack that emotional damage.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Millennial 1145, Season 11, Episode 45. 45 episodes this year. This is our final episode of the year. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. We'll talk about our values today. We'll just have a discussion about our personal values, which will get us ready for 2026. We're also going to predict 2026. But of course, as always, we need to review last year's predictions for 2025. And we had a good performance record, I'd say.
Some of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's start with mine. I first predicted that Donald J. Trump will not be able to stop Putin's war in Ukraine. Didn't he say day one of his presidency that was going to... Okay.
He did. Oh, he said he would do it before he even took office.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He thought he could do it by tweets or something like that. My next prediction was overall U.S. inflation in 2025 will be 2.8%. And at the time, the 2024 inflation rate was 2.7%. As of September 2025, it is 3%, 3.0 for the previous 12 months. So unfortunately, I was a little too right when it comes to that prediction. It was worse than expected.
But not as bad as they thought it was going to be. Like there were a lot of analysts who thought it was going to be way worse. And the jury is out on if 2026 is going to deliver on that.
Next prediction. I predicted that TikTok will not be banned by the end of the year, being 2025, or at all in the US. That was right, except for that 24-hour period where it was banned.
I think it was 12, wasn't it?
12 hours, even less? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I also predicted that Bill Shatner and Carol Burnett would pass away. I'm pleased to report that they did not pass away. Stay tuned for my 2026 death predictions in a moment.
God.
And then in the episode previous to the season finale episode last year, I had predicted that Elon and Trump's relationship would fall apart. So I'll take a point for that one too. It fell apart within 2025. So Laura, what were your predictions for the year and how did you do?
So I actually predicted the opposite of you, Andrew. I didn't think that the Trump and Elon breakup would happen in 2025. I thought they would last a little longer than that, but they didn't. So I got that wrong. I also predicted that Trump would get H5N1, aka bird flu. That didn't happen, but he did get cankles. So
I think the cankles were better.
We'll count our wins where we can.
I don't know.
Well, because we got funny pictures of the cankles. If he had bird flu, we never would have saw him during his bird flu.
That's true. Although, to be honest with you, I think if he did get bird flu, they wouldn't tell us.
Probably
at
not.
this point. I mean, yeah, just think about that period of time in September. I think it was when he was gone from the public eye for a while, and then he came back, and there were questionable images, but we won't get into that now. For one that I got right, though, I said Laura will put Andrew on her nifty new shit list knock pad once in 2025. I don't have it with me, but I definitely did. And I think it was just related to it wasn't something actually real, but it was more so you were taking the piss out of me on camera during a show.
I see.
And
okay.
I was like, fuck you, Andrew.
Sure.
I did it. I also predicted that Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater would split after the press tour for Wicked 2 is complete. Doesn't seem like this has happened, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it, that this couple stands the test of time.
They've kind of gone underground.
They've gotten
really
quiet.
Been seen. Yeah. Which to me makes me believe maybe your prediction is true. but I guess not.
You know, I
'cause it's not
wondered for a
convinced.
while
Yeah.
because he was being weird in interviews when they would ask him about her.
He looks so afraid every time he gets interviewed. Like somebody's going to bring up like what his wife had to say, like the whole thing.
Right. Like, are you ashamed of abandoning your wife of 10 years and your infant child?
Awkward.
Yeah,
but I will say
definitely.
that I feel like Wicked Part 2 was like maybe good for him because his character just got more to do. And he did actually it was very well acted.
He had a great performance in Part 2. There's no question.
Exactly. So maybe that helped him out.
Laura, you had said you planned to pay off your student loans in 2025. Did that happen?
Yes, it did.
Oh,
I got my student loans paid off.
Did you announce this on the show? Did I completely forget?
I don't think.
I think you did.
I might have mentioned it at one point, but it wasn't like a big like tent pole for the episode or anything. If anything, I mentioned it in passing. But
she like slipped it in there really cool and casual.
But that shit is behind me now. But you know what? I'm still in favor of student loan forgiveness because I'm not a selfish asshole.
Exactly.
So
now you can be on that side.
Right. So if you still have student loans, just know that I'm pulling for you because what we have in this country around student loans is predatory lending. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah. Well done there. Pam, what were your predictions for 2025?
So I'm going to be honest. The first one, I don't even know if I'm assuming it didn't happen. I can't remember either way. I guess I had predicted that Trump would fly the flag at full mast for the inauguration. I do remember this being a controversial topic, but yeah, I don't remember either way what happened during the inauguration. So.
Well, he did hide the whole thing inside. That was a bit of a surprise. He blamed cold weather, but most people were thinking he didn't want another embarrassing crowd turnout.
Wow, I completely forgot about that.
Me too. Me too. So maybe this was a bad prediction because I really just didn't pay attention either way.
I mean, listen, it has been a decade since January, so I don't blame you.
That's fair. So my second prediction was that I thought Chappell Roan would win big at the 2025 Grammys. And she was nominated for quite a bit as a first-time nominee. And she only won one award, which was for Best New Artist, which I still consider a big win, but it wasn't like a full sweep. So I will concede that I was wrong there.
Well, this next one was a pretty impressive prediction in my mind.
Really? I feel like this one was like too on the nose. I'm not going to pat myself too hard on the back, but you could do it for me. So my last prediction was that I thought Taylor Swift would re-release the Eras Tour movie, only this time with the Tortured Poets Department set lists included. And I specifically said that I thought she would do this in April for the album's anniversary. So this is half true because she did do this, but she did it for her birthday and in conjunction with the 6-part documentary series, which is currently airing over on Disney+.
I want to watch that docuseries. I haven't.
Have you seen it?
No, I want to.
Oh, okay.
Have you?
This was my weekend, basically, because I was so dumb and I never would have done this if I was thinking correctly, but I basically like booked a full day for myself on Friday. And so that I had to go socialize. And then when I got home, I didn't have time to watch it. So this was like my Saturday and Sunday.
I had to go socialize.
Yeah.
I'm pulling, how long? Oh, it's only 2 45-minute? Oh,
2 45-minute episodes. And then they're releasing one, I believe one every Friday.
Oh, I thought they were all out at once. Okay, wow. That's fun. All right, well, those were our 2025 predictions. So now let's look ahead to the future. Let's predict 2026. I'll kick things off again. First of all, I believe that President Donald J. Trump will get another permanent bruise on his body that he struggles to hide from the media. Basically, all this year, he's been trying poorly to hide that bruise on his right hand, I believe it is. And I think he's going to get another bruise that he just cannot hide. And for somebody who's so critical of people's appearances, how he makes fun of how other people look and talk and this and that, he deserves some of that karma coming back around with more criticism at him, I think.
Yeah, and curiosity about whatever IV treatment he's receiving, because that's what those bruises look like.
Okay, all right.
Anyway.
You don't think it's from shaking too many hands? That's the White House talking point.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just don't believe that Trump wants to come in touch with the public. Like,
Also,
I'm also shocked that he let them roll with that because that kind of makes him seem weak.
yeah.
Like, do you remember that awkward handshake he had with Gavin Newsom where he was trying to pull away because Gavin's handshake was much more firmer than his?
yeah.
Yeah.
And Gavin's taller than him, so them two
Right.
side by side makes
But
little
according
Donnie.
to everything else, Trump is the same height as Gavin, which is why it's so funny.
Yeah, 6'5", 250 or whatever they
There
say
you
about
go.
him.
Yeah.
But the other thing that cracks me up about, the handshaking is the reason for the bruise is if you think about shaking a hand, you're not grabbing the back side of the hand where the bruise is. So that excuse really does not make sense.
No.
They say it's because of all the hands he's shaking. Bullshit. Yeah, okay. Maybe occasionally somebody's patting the back of his hand too, but that is not where you touch a hand when you're shaking a hand.
But also, if you're getting like bruising that bad, I'm seeing, like, this is my thought too. I'm seeing Riley saying that they think that he's on blood thinners in the Millennial live stream. Obviously, not ever so medical professionals, but I've also had family members on blood thinners before, and that is, basically a very common side effect of being on blood thinners.
Yeah. And it's also just not the kind of excuse you want to hear when there's so much concern about the person sitting in that seat, the leader of the free world, literally being the oldest person to ever sit here, or will have been the oldest person by the time this term is over. It doesn't exactly inspire confidence.
All right, another political, all of my predictions are political other than the death prediction. My next prediction is that Pete Hegseth will no longer be the defense secretary by the end of 2026. There's just been way too much heat on him. He's fucked up too many times. The way he's behaving, he's going to continue to screw up. So I think by the end of the year, he'll be out. Also, the Epstein files are supposed to be released right now by the time this episode is out. And my prediction is that the release of these files will cause absolutely no one on the right, left, middle, wherever to be canceled. They're just going to be swept under the rug again. We're going to move on. It's Christmas time. It's Hanukkah time. Nobody's paying attention anymore.
Yep.
I still think the files should be out there, but I don't think anybody's going to pay for any revelations. And finally, my death predictions for 2026. I must sadly share that Barbara Streisand and the legendary Mel Brooks will pass away.
Why? Are they in poor health?
Because I Googled old celebrities, and those were the two that I picked this year.
I guess when I think of these two, they both just seem very
sprightly.
Spry. Yeah.
Sometimes death is very unpredictable. Hopefully I'm not right, but I'm just telling you where my mind is taking me
the
this year.
Las Vegas Grim Reaper over here.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we'll get into my predictions. I have a couple of political ones and one pop culture one. So similar to Andrew, I think Pete Hegseth will definitely be out. But I also think Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is also going to be out. I think these two are going to be the convenient sacrificial lambs in the cabinet, probably earlier in the year, if I had to guess, like in the first half of the year, just because we've seen time and time again that as soon as you exhaust your usefulness to Trump, he no longer has any use for you and he'll happily throw you under the bus. So I think that's what's happening to these two. I also think that the administration is going to try to cancel the 2026 midterms. I know that's
a dark take. Yeah,
it is. But operative word here is try. I'm not predicting that they're going to be successful. I think it's really hard to unilaterally cancel elections in this country because elections happen on a state by state basis. Like, they are run by the states. It's not like the federal government runs all 50 states' elections. So some states may be affected, but I think it'll be hard to cancel across the board. And then Andrew, I'm so sorry to report this, but the Harry Potter TV show will be delayed to to mid or late 2027 due to production delays as a result of whichever merger ultimately happens.
See, I'll just say, I'll add on a prediction here. I don't think any merger is going to happen by the end of 2026, and thus things will carry on as normal, and we'll get that show. I think they're currently saying early 2027, but Laura's little note here is due to production delays as a result of the merger. So we'll see what excuse they use when they push it again. Okay. And Pam?
In contrast to Andrew, I have only pop culture predictions, which probably surprises no one. So my first prediction is concerning Cynthia Erivo. She's very close to EGOT status. She's only missing the Oscar. But I feel like they won't give it to her because I just think the Academy might think it's too on the nose to award Cynthia Erivo with her first Oscar for Wicked for Good, which probably will gain some nominations. I think the easiest category there for her to win in would, in a normal year, be for like Best Original Song, but they're up against some stiff competition, so I don't think it's quite as in the bag as it could have been on a year where the competition wasn't so stiff. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong on that, but that's my thoughts there.
But will she be announced as Voldemort in the Harry Potter TV series? Because that's been a rumor running around on the internet.
Only time will tell.
Bald black woman, make her Voldemort.
So Euphoria season 3 is finally set to come to premiere over on HBO. And my prediction is, and I hope this one's true, is that it'll actually flop. And in part because it took them too long to make and release it, but also in part because from everything I've heard, they've just really like revamped the show a lot. Obviously, a lot of characters are not coming back. Some bigger names are, but I think it's going to be a really tall order for them to assume that this is going to be as big of a hit as past seasons have been. And I really feel like this show has kind of jumped the shark. So I am unfortunately rooting for it to fail. Sorry if you're a Euphoria fan, but I feel like it's time to leave Euphoria in the past. And then my final prediction is that I think Beyonce will drop Act 3 in the back half of 2026, so anytime after May.
Okay. I certainly hope so, because the rumors is it's going to be a rock album, so I would like that.
I'm so excited for that, yeah. And it's been 2 years since we got Cowboy Carter, so it was 2 years between Renaissance and Cowboy Carter, so I feel like this is like a pretty decently safe prediction.
And the tour's over now, time to move forward. Okay. Cool. Those are our predictions. Listeners, let us know what you think.
Yeah, and keep us accountable next year. Anytime these things do or don't happen, feel free to call us out before the last show of the year. But before we get into our main discussion, just wanted to give some top of show reminders. This show is brought to you by listeners like you. And thanks to recent patrons, including Tamara, Michelle, Amanda, and Veronica. By supporting us over at patreon.com/millennial, you can get instant access to lots of perks, including After Dark.
Coming up this week in After Dark, we're going to extend our discussion in the main show about our top 2 personal values. We will get more open about these 2 values that each of us have. We'll share the stories related to these values that are too hot for the main show. Get a little more rude and honest. So check that out at patreon.com/millennial. If someone's asking you for a last-minute gift idea for yourself, tell them they can gift you a membership to our Patreon. You can just go to patreon.com/millennial/gift.
There are also other ways to help us out. Firstly, if you want to wear your love, you can visit shop.millennialshow.com to grab official show gear. We'd also appreciate it if you told a fellow millennial about the show, and make sure you're following us in your favorite podcast app.
After the break, we'll talk about our personal values and how we'll carry these forward in 2026. We'll be right back. So let's talk personal values. This discussion was inspired by Brené Brown, who I think, Laura, on the show, you were happy to hear me bringing up Brené Brown because she gets brought up a lot in corporate America.
Oh, definitely.
And Laura's like, oh, apparently Andrew's a corporate girly now. I didn't realize that.
Oh my God, welcome.
Welcome. The water's terrible.
We can talk about KPIs and...
Ooh.
Yeah.
Putting pins in things till the new
acronyms.
Year. Circle back. Yeah.
Oh God. If I never have to hear that again, it'll be too soon.
So Brené Brown, she's an author, motivational speaker. She's a lot of things. In one book I read, Dare to Lead, she talks about figuring out what your top 2 personal values are and living by them. And she says you should identify your top 2 values because clarity is what allows people to live with integrity instead of shame. And when values aren't clearly defined, people feel like they're failing whenever life gets messy, even though they're often just prioritizing one value over another. So, naming your top 2 explains why certain situations hurt so deeply. It gives you language for your reactions, and it can help you trust yourself instead of constantly questioning whether you're too much or overreacting. And your top 2 values also function as decision filters, and this is why I really like them, especially under pressure. They expose where you're living out of alignment, why certain relationships or environments drain you, and when you're choosing comfort over honesty. And limiting values to 2, which is very hard, forces clarity and tension instead of loopholes. And that makes it easier to set boundaries and make hard choices and tolerate short term discomfort in service of long term integrity. So, hopefully, that explains why these are really important and why we're going to talk about them today. Now, Brene Brown has a worksheet you can download for free. It's at her website, and we can include a link in the show notes too. And it's kind of like a value starter pack. There's probably 60, 70, 80 in this list. And on this worksheet, you can also write in your own. Obviously, you don't have to pick from the ones that she typed out. But this value sheet is a good starting point. Why don't we start with one of you two in terms of the 2 key values you whittled your list down to? And then what are the values underneath those top 2 values? And you do that because maybe you're looking at this worksheet and you're like, oh my God, there's 80 values here. Plus, I have some in my head that aren't listed. I got to include these. But the way to include them is to nest them under your top 2. So, Laura, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. And I'm glad that you brought up maybe having values that aren't on that list because it is totally fine. And actually, I think on the values list that you can get off of Brené Brown's website, there is an area that encourages you to like fill in any values that you have that aren't represented there. So you definitely don't have to feel locked in. But for me, my first value that really guides and like should guide and be at the root of everything that I do is compassion. So the subcategories of this and also a lot of the values that I highlighted when I was initially going through the list were stewardship, caring, empathy, and advocacy. So kind of like Andrew was saying, you may have multiple things and you have to kind of figure out what are your umbrella values and like what encompasses all of the things that are kind of competing in your head for that number 1 spot. My second one is dignity. And for me, the values that roll up to that are accountability, respect, equity, being heard, security, and boundaries.
So let me put on my therapist hat. Those are
Okay.
great, Laura. Well done whittling your values down and figuring these out. I see a lot of growth here. I'm really excited for you. But how do you use these 2 values in your day-to-day life, would you say? And why did these take the top spot, compassion and dignity?
I think so. To answer the first part of your question, I definitely realize that I haven't been as good about using these values in my day-to-day as I could be. It's not to say that they're not there, but I can tell when they're not there because I feel lost in whatever it is I'm doing. And it becomes a lot harder for me to be engaged because I don't feel like I have a mission. I don't feel like connected to it. Yeah, I think an exercise like this it can be a really good like gut check opportunity or like just check in opportunity for yourself to be like, wait a second, what are my core values and are they really at the root of everything that I'm doing? And I think it's also a really good opportunity to check in with yourself and ask the question, are these actually my core values, or do I think they're my core values because of recency bias? I'll talk about this a little bit more in After Dark, but initially I had a couple of different values that I had in mind, but I really spent some time and I journaled about it, and I even asked ChatGPT to help me categorize a couple of things, but I realized that I was determining core values in response to something recent in my life, and those aren't actually my core values, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and start over and realize that when I'm not operating from a place of compassion and dignity being the foundation of what I do and how I work with people, I'm not going to do anything as well as I could, and I'm also not going to be happy.
Yeah, you might be thinking well, what is this all for?
Right.
If there isn't compassion and dignity here.
Well,
I feel
and
that.
you just don't feel connected to it.
Uh-huh.
So my first value is integrity. And then under that, I had authenticity, accountability, and courage. And then my second one, similar to Laura, is also compassion. The first one I put under here is growth, but I feel like growth is kind of a funny one because it really could fit under both of these, and I feel like it does kind of fluctuate. But the other values I had under compassion are balance, belonging, connection, respect, and dignity. And so I really struggled with this exercise a lot. I ended up talking to my therapist about it after I tried to whittle down the list on my own to see if we could come up with some guided questions that might help me figure out a little bit more. And I think that once the list did get whittled down, it made more sense for me than I thought it did. I think it was just looking at the list of values is so overwhelming and can be so overwhelming. So whether you're asking somebody else to weigh in and help you weigh in, or whether you're asking ChatGPT, I think it is worth getting some kind of second guiding opinion because it can be really helpful. And yeah, I just think that, the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I just kind of felt like this really does align with who I am and who I want to be. And it's not that I don't value other things. I also there's a lot that I left off because I feel like these underlying values, they kind of encompass a lot more. I would put, for example, success and ambition and things like that under growth. But I don't want that ever to come at the expense of my integrity or holding others accountable. And I also don't want that to come as at the expense of my empathy, which is what I would consider compassion to be. So it does really become this kind of circle that is really helpful to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, ultimately, how successful are you going to be if it's coming at the expense of your integrity? If that is your core.
Exactly. And also at the integrity of other people, I really I think authenticity is also a big one. That was one that I really thought was going to pull through as maybe a larger term that then other things, it would umbrella other things. Because I think that that is just really important to me in terms of a quality that I look for in other people. And it's kind of the same thing. It's yes, I would like growth, and I want to surround myself with people that are driven and that are passionate and see the world in the same way that I do. But I also don't want it to be a situation where somebody is pandering or who is there because they're just saying the right things at the right time. That to me would compromise my integrity too. So yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think it's a great call out that we really could expand on any of these categories. And I think we're going to see that, Andrew, with yours when you share them in a moment. But just because we don't have longer lists of like subcategories under these things doesn't mean they don't exist.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think you could make a connection between how a value like compassion shows up for you and what that means for like your self-compassion, but also your compassion for others and for situations and for structures and, anything you can imagine. You could probably relate back to almost any other value on this list. But all of that said, Andrew, I think you actually have some great examples as well. I think of how multiple of these values can ultimately roll up to one based on who you are.
Yeah. So we've been mentioning this list that Brené Brown published, and what I initially did was I circled all the ones that like spark something in me. I was like, oh yeah, I can see myself caring about that. And then I had probably 10 to 15 total. And then the hard part was actually whittling that down and layering this. So my top two are growth, and then under growth is ambition, initiative, self-discipline, success, self-awareness, forward thinking. And then my second value was reliability. And under that, dependability, thoughtfulness, being validated, self awareness, caring for others, showing up consistently, and following through. And I look at both of these in both my professional and personal life. I can apply both of these values to my professional and personal life. When it comes to growth, just growing as a person in your own relationships and how you see the world and uh, carry yourself through the world. And then reliability, that one probably a little more work related, but still the personal side, as we've talked about this year on the show, being a good friend, being reciprocal in terms of looking out for each other, organizing hangouts, stuff like that, being validated. Again, under reliability, listening to what your friends are sharing and vice versa, being a good listener and helping them. So yeah, I'm happy with these two top picks, growth and reliability. I think they are me. They are ones that I think about a lot.
Yeah. And I love how you pointed out too that these values, like when you're thinking about them, I think most people, it would be most helpful for them to think about these things across their entire life experience, not just like siloed to work and then outside of work, because that just feels like you're asking yourself to like become a different person at work and outside of work. And like, I very much view compassion and dignity as core values for me across the board. And so even when I'm at work, I may be delivering on more traditionally like worky type things, but I'm always trying to think about the impact on other people throughout that and like what is reasonable to ask of people and what is reasonable to expect of them. And I haven't I think I don't always do a good job of making the connection that that's my core values at play. And the funny thing is, I'm usually at my best when I'm operating that way.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting bogged down in like the details.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think that one of the reasons that I struggled so much with this is that I felt like a lot of what I was circling was related to like professional career goals and aspirations. And I just kind of felt like that, and this kind of goes back to the authenticity angle. I felt like that was inauthentic to who I want like to be perceived as a whole person, not just as somebody that like is their job. And so, but it is interesting, like that regardless of that fear, I think that like I look at this list and I think, well, like this is also like, this is who I want to be in my personal life. And this is what I want to provide in a professional capacity too.
Yeah.
Like I want to be authentic and honest in the projects that I choose or the things that I write about. I want to show people compassion and respect and make them feel like we're forging a connection and it's not just a transaction. So
Yeah. And I think when our listeners or when any of us, now that we've got these whittled down, we should ask ourselves in our day-to-day lives, well, is X, Y, or Z helping me grow? Does it align with my growth value? Does it align with my reliability value? Yeah, I could look at some stuff in my work life and be like, oh, I've still got probably like 30, 40 more years in my working life. Is this helping me grow? And if not, what can I do to change that? Or when it comes to reliability, looking at taking the personal angle with that one. Can I depend on these people when I need them? Am I putting in more effort than they are? Well, that's not fair. Why am I spending time with them? Let me devote more energy to people who actually give me that energy that I'm seeking. So it's really fun. I think it's really rewarding once you figure out your top two to start keeping these in mind in your day-to-day life and see if the things that you experience in your day-to-day life check these two boxes.
Definitely. I agree with that. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but like using this as a way to like set a charter for yourself too. Like I was reading online that the way some people will use values like this, or even if they're setting intentions for something, would be to, at the start of the week, I mean, you could journal it, you could set a goal for yourself in whatever software makes the most sense to you, but you can set the intention to let these core values be the driver.
Let them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them be the core drive.
But also it's a good reminder to check in with yourself if you're feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. It's a good time, I think, to check in and be like, wait a second, is it possible that the stress and the overwhelm is coming because I'm not operating within my core values, or I'm not living up to them in a way that feels most authentic to me?
Yeah, that, honestly, that's a really big reason why I have balance under like the sub values, because I just kind of feel like it's so easy to, just as easy as it could be to like fall off the wayside of your values, it's also easy to just like go too hard in. And I know as like a people pleaser, it's really easy for me personally to give too much, and I'll overextend myself at the expense of helping other people. So balance is a big one too, that I know that I'm personally working on, and I'm always working on. So saying no as much as I say yes, basically, which is tough. Yeah.
Are you too surprised that both of you share compassion as a top personal value? I'm not surprised.
No,
you're two very nice
that doesn't
people.
surprise
But
me.
I am concerned that like people, like the wrong kind of people, would see that as like too maternal or too feminine, because women, especially, just because this is a corporate exercise too, I think that like, especially in corporate America, which is still a man's world, like men expect women to be compassionate. And yeah, I just feel like that can be very misinterpreted very quickly. Especially like, say like if we were in an office setting and Laura and I both like, we're like, oh, we're both compassionate. And then, it'd be so easy for some like asshole to be like, oh, of course, because you're women,
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think having these subcategories comes in really handy, because it's like, I think on the surface, if somebody looks at somebody saying compassion is a value of theirs, that can seem maybe a little self-serving to somebody who hasn't done the deep dive on what compassion is and how it differs from person to person. Because for me, like I said earlier, compassion is just as much about self-compassion as it is for compassion for others. So it's just as much about protecting myself as it is about, trying to be a good steward of things that are impacting other people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, kind of like the whole, like, secure your mask before you help the children on the plane type deal. Like, you can't help other people if you're not in a good place.
Well, the RuPaul line, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here?
Yep.
Amen.
It's true.
Now let the music play. bum, bum, credits roll. She said that. She says that at the end of every episode.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really valid point because I think that like, yeah, if you're somebody cynical or like even like, I don't know, I think about it in terms of to like the far right calling liberals snowflakes. I think it's easy to look at compassion as a weakness because like you're constantly putting others before yourselves or, however you want to see it. But I do think that compassion as a value should be reflected onto yourself. So like being kind to yourself, even in a professional setting. It's like we all have goals. We all have varying like levels of success that we want to reach in our respective careers. But like you should have compassion for yourself. And like if you don't reach those by the time that like somebody else reaches those goals or like if you don't reach them by the time that you were hoping to like reach that goal. So it is twofold in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, and I think also a strength in the compassion category is being able to have compassion for people who you heavily disagree with or even for people who you don't like.
Yeah. It's like I didn't put communication in here because I feel like compassion encompasses that. But yes, it's like I think like I really resonated with what Andrew was saying about being heard because when I was talking to my therapist about this, we basically also came to the consensus that a lot of like she asked me like what if you think about like the time that like you felt most hurt, like what was it that like really stung? And it was like I think it's just like that I didn't feel like I was being listened to.
Yeah.
And so that which was just like we'll set that aside and we'll unpack that later because we haven't really turned that stone over. But I do think that like that was a good revelation in terms of like for the purposes of this exercise, but it also makes me cognizant of the fact that like just like I want to be heard, especially in like more heated moments. It's important to hear other people out too because both sides deserve to be heard. So
well, I'm glad you kind of tapped into that and you're gonna explore that more with your therapist.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, that kind of like that's tender. I need to, but not now.
We'll put a pin in that for 2026.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 50 minutes is not long enough to unpack that emotional damage.
Yeah. Well, and something else I just want to call out quickly. I feel like it's almost like a flipped situation from what Pam and I are talking about with the way compassion is viewed. Because Andrew, you have, growth and reliability. I think they're probably more traditionally seen as like, quote, masculine traits. But when you look at what's underneath a lot of this for you, it's things like self-awareness and thoughtfulness and validation. And that just goes to show, like, for you, growth and reliability are your core values, but the things that drive those and make them uniquely you are also informed by values that are very, I guess, I hate to use the term feminine, but like, I guess traditionally seen as feminine values.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Being more sympathetic or being more open. Men are typically viewed as, conceal, don't feel, don't open up, this and that. That's changed, I think, over the last few decades. We see the older generations being less willing to open up. But yeah, I see your point. So tying these to 2026, do we have resolutions? I personally am not a fan of that word, or themes or goals for 2026. And I can start here. And I think when you do look at these, and I actually came up with this little list for therapy, not necessarily for the show, but it worked out great. I could just copy and paste, and it looks like I planned this for the show. So my plan is to control what I can control, and then changing anything that bothers me. And I think I brought up at the end of last year that where I am in my professional life is I have more flexibility in terms of my workload. So I made a couple changes this year that have been helpful. And I just want to kind of continue with the things that I did in 2025, the things I was doing in 2025. So continuing to improve the work-life balance. A personal goal for myself is to get one new big work gig or expand an existing role that I have. So that kind of fits in the growth value. I'm going to start journaling for real. Just a few things each day, a few little items, just to remember what the fuck I'm doing in my life.
Ooh, a physical journal. Love that
physical
for you.
baby.
So much. Yeah. And it's so nice to read those back. Like you're going to feel, and like not even just at the end of the year, but in like 5 years, just to see like where your head was at.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like now versus what it will be like in the future. It's like sometimes it's so cringy, but I don't like, I would never get rid of my journals because I did so much journaling.
But maybe, but it wasn't cringy at the time. And I guess that's the point, right?
Just no, it wasn't like everything, but it does. It's a really nice reminder of how like even something that felt big at the time can sometimes feel so small with hindsight.
Definitely.
And it helps remind you that like basically like this too shall pass, like even if it feels like it won't. So I'm really excited for you to start journaling. Yeah.
And it really shows how far you've come too. And I think it shows growth in that you can look back on something and recognize like, wow, if this happened to me again today, I would have way more capacity to handle it this time.
Right.
Definitely. As a little sidebar, this journal is the same color as my carry-on suitcase. And I thought that was kind of symbolic. Like I'm traveling with my memories. I'm traveling through time, just like my suitcase. I don't know. That's a little woo-woo.
You know what I would suggest you do if you're going to be taking it with you? I always like I've fallen out of the practice of journaling, but when I do get into it, I always put, in addition to like the date, I'll put the time and where I was when I wrote the entry, and sometimes even what I'm listening to.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, because that's a really nice way to kind of reflect back, usually on like, it sets the scene a little bit more and it helps put some stuff into perspective that I might have forgotten about. So yeah. I would suggest that.
Okay, cool. And lastly, fairer boundaries with my family. And I'll get into that a little more in After Dark. It's nothing that I haven't brought up before in After Dark. So if you're curious what that's about, now's the time to become a patron, I guess. And by the way, the journal that I got is, this is German, so I'm going to get it wrong. Luckterm 1917. It's a brand.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get a good quality one, especially for my first time.
Yeah. Is it lined? Is it dotted?
It is lined.
Blank?
It's lined. Those idiots at Amazon still delivered a dotted one first when I definitely ordered lined. I was like, a rare screw up by Amazon. Okay. So I had to wait a little longer to get started. But it's ruled.
Nice.
Lined. How about you two? What do you have on tap for 2026?
I'll be honest with you. I was kind of joking in the pre-show about how I was like, you know what? 2025 has been a big old bitch, so I'm not making any promises to 2026. And it was like, I'm half joking about that. But honestly, I think 2026 is really going to be about prioritizing myself in a lot of ways. We'll talk more about it in After Dark.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you both, or to anyone listening. I really haven't thought about resolutions much this year at all.
All right, moving on.
I don't. Yeah, well, no, I was just going to say that like I don't want to like make up some bullshit list, but something that it just like I do want to prioritize is not being like so afraid to take time off. I think I've reached a point where like sometimes I just don't realize like how long it's been since I took a few days, like not necessarily even just to do anything, just to like get some breathing room in. So I think that is something that I'm going to try and do with a little, like, no, I'm not going to go crazy, but I just think that like, I could do it more, and I think that like taking, I took some time this last year to do a couple of trips that came up unplanned, and it was just kind of like, I just didn't love how I felt so flustered and stressed out by the idea of taking time off from work. And I'm just like, I just don't think I need to feel that way. So I want to be able to do that guilt-free. So I'm going to work on that for 2026.
Nice. Okay. All right, we're going to take one more break today, speaking of breaks, and then when we get back, we asked our pals what resolutions or themes or goals they have for 2026. So we'll inspire each other after the break. So, in our recurring Pen Pals segments, we asked, Pals, do you have a resolution or theme or goal for 2026? Lydia said for 2026, try, fail, adjust, repeat. Momentum is built through movement, not overthinking. Don't wait until it's perfect. Be an action taker. I love that, Lydia.
Yeah.
I love that phrase. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Too often people just kind of like sputter around going in circles and they're like, well, why isn't anything changing? And it's like, well, because you're not actually making any changes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good either. Like analysis paralysis will, kind of like Andrew was just talking about, it'll just get you stuck. Sonia says, having survived a near-death experience earlier this year has put a new perspective on my friendships and how I'm inspired to elevate my game. I want to become someone who will be missed if something happens to me. I want to contact my friends and family more often and not wait for them to contact me, to let them know that I'm thinking about them and to offer my support and friendship more often. I already never miss a birthday or holiday, but want to keep the lines of communication open. That's
really
a really
nice.
good goal.
Yeah. Like you said right at the top, Sonia, an experience like that can really put things in perspective again and really just make you
Absolutely.
think like, wow, I've been missing opportunities I should have been taking, or, I should have been fostering relationships differently.
Mm-hmm. Sean says, in the second half of 2025, I finally developed a writing routine that works for me, and I made significant progress in the first draft of a novel, something I've wanted to do since I was 12. The goal for 2026 is to keep that momentum going to finish up the first draft and then look into next steps. I also may be in the financial position to purchase my own small house in the next year, so the theme for 2026 is pursuing big dreams. That's so exciting.
Good
That
theme,
is
Sean.
really
Good luck.
exciting.
Yeah.
Keep us posted.
Be kind to yourself about the novel. I've been whittling away at one for a few years. Like if you fall off your routine, don't sweat it. The important thing is that you come back to it. But yeah, setting up a routine is definitely a good first step. So I'm proud of you for doing that.
Roshni said, keep trying to be present for my kids and be a good parent for them, actually budget and track my spending so I can make goals and prioritize what I really want. Take my white belt test / graduate to yellow belt in karate. And finally, learn how to live with / handle my new inflammatory arthritis so I can still do as much / most of what I want to do and have realistic expectations of what I am capable of doing. Good list, Roshni, and I'm sure you already are a great parent.
You got this, Roshni. Julia says, ultimately, I want to ask myself, how can I make decisions every day that center community, learning, exploration, and connection? I feel like I'm looking for something that I don't quite have the word for. I want my space to feel colorful, rich, cozy, and real. I want to feel connected to the things I own and the spaces I inhabit. I want my relationships to feel nourished and nourishing. I feel like this is the best way to honor my younger self who wanted to rebel. I just can't accept living a life designed to make billionaires richer while my community suffers.
I don't know if you already are deeply involved in your community, but if you aren't, when you do start to get more involved with your community or interacting with more people, hopefully that will help guide you in the direction that you're looking for, and you'll discover the things that you're kind of like searching around for. You said you're searching for something real. Maybe working on those connections will help present that real thing that you're looking for.
Zian, who's listening live, says to take better care of myself and to get over my driving anxiety so I can be a more productive human being.
This next one's from Win. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've fallen far below my own standards for the work I produce, and given how much responsibilities I have, and our company has had major layoffs, slowly bringing myself out of the hole I've dug myself, continuing to learn and grow as a person so I can raise a human being that I would have wanted in a partner, not in the creepy Oedipus complex kind of way, just in a proud parent kind of way. And then finally, they say couples therapy. All right, so you got a tough year, it sounds like. Good luck, though. Don't beat yourself up too much about
Yeah.
out of the hole you've dug yourself. Is that really true?
Sounds like you've done some good reflecting, though. So I think that self-awareness is a really great first step. And just be kind to yourself and if everything doesn't get fixed in a full calendar year, that's okay.
Liza says, personally, I want to maintain habits, routines, and activities that are working for me. In terms of my work life, I want to preserve my peace, not get involved in the negativity spiral, and celebrate the successes. Liza's always so positive.
She is.
Laura says, building up my private practice to make it financially solvent and get back into reading. Maybe even start my own podcast. Keep working towards raising two boys in the chaos and stress of this country to be healthy, caring, and emotionally aware citizens. That's a really nice list.
Yeah. And finally, Ning Si says, keep up with my reading and try to do some volunteer work. Both great ideas. Thanks, everybody who contributed to our Pen Pal post this week. If you want to contribute to these Pen Pal posts that we make with every episode, if you want After Dark access, live stream access, ad-free episodes, all the goods, head to patreon.com/millennial and you can support us there. There's also the annual membership, and that gets you a membership to Millennial for a full year at a reduced cost when compared to the monthly subscription. We also love to hear from you in other ways, so email millennialshow@gmail.com if you have any feedback, or you can use the contact form on millennialshow.com, or leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube, or DM us on social. And if you enjoy the podcast, we would love a review in your favorite podcast app. Time for some recommendations. I was very abstract last week. This week, I'm getting really specific. Santa Fe style salad with chicken from 5-Star Gourmet Foods. Actually, from Simply Fresh. These are at Costco. It's 2 for $8.50. These are really good. Only 260 calories. It comes with a sun-dried tomato chipotle dressing. This hits the spot in the afternoon.
I haven't tried this one, but I really like the Mediterranean crunch that they have there.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had that one. It's really
nice. I haven't.
Nice.
I don't like branching out, but I will just for you, Pam. I'll give it a shot.
Do you
15
like
grams of protein, too. Huh?
Do you like a vinaigrette on your salad, or
Not
do you
really.
prefer more? Okay, then I wouldn't get it.
I think that's why I have avoided it.
See, I just saved you some time.
But this is also great if you have to go into an office, because most of the ingredients are separated from the lettuce, so you mix it all together once you actually unwrap it. It does come with a fork, too. I don't love all the extra plastic, but I'm sure this is really convenient for people. And the price is good, at least at Costco. So there's my specific recommendation.
Love it. I'm going to get a little more abstract this week, but it is also a specific thing you can do. So we're getting close to, major winter holidays where there's a lot of gift giving. And if you are someone who has not yet finished your holiday shopping and you're trying to think of something special to do for the people in your life, I would suggest looking at experiences, and that could literally be taking someone out to dinner and a movie or taking someone out to drinks. I think giving the people in your life the gift of time with you is better than anything material that you could get them. And God, I feel like most of us kind of relate to the idea of feeling like we don't need more stuff. So consider giving someone the gift of time with you.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to recommend Softy Mo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's a K-beauty product, deep cleansing oil, specifically because holidays are kind of the time of year where if you're a person who puts on makeup, you're probably looking to make sure that makeup is going to stay for like 12 hours. And that also means that it's really hard to take off at the end of the night. But this stuff is so great. It's like under $15 on Amazon, or I usually just get it at my local K-beauty shop, but it'll take everything off super quick, so you don't have to sit there and scrub your face raw.
Well, another year gone. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this year's episodes of Millennial. It's kind of crazy that we do 45 this year. I think last year we did 46. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, deuces 2025.
Peace,
bitch.
Yeah. Hopefully 2026 is better, but we're not getting our hopes up. Yeah. Throughout this entire year, I've had this it's fine meme Funko sitting behind me. And you know what? It's pretty evergreen.
Yeah.
The
Is
dog
it the
with the fire
this is
behind him.
fine? Yeah, fire
this
dog.
is
Yeah.
fine. That's what I meant. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Thanks again for another year of listening to the show, and we'll see you next year. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.